So we talked about privacy assessments, its relevance for SMEs, and now in this video we are going to talk about steps to prepare an SME for privacy assessments. Welcome to my YouTube channel where you daily see new content on data privacy, and as I said, today we are going to talk about steps to prepare an SME for privacy assessments. We'll quickly touch base upon those repeat types of assessments. A way, a device, a tool. You can do it through softwares, but ideally being SMEs, manually revalidate all your processes of business, especially the ones where there is any integration with personal information, so that you can see if there's any risk in breach of that personal information. It can be lost out, or some regulations are not met, there's any issues with that data, right? So you can actually see if there's any risk and mitigate those risks. Classified into privacy impact assessment, something that you should do for all your privacy processes irrespective of what business you are, whenever you create a new process, whenever you are making changes to any of your processes. Data protection impact assessment, something that you should do if you are handling sensitive personal information or large volumes of personal information, and can be a debate that large volumes of personal information may not be SMEs. But SMEs which do only processing of information for others, third-party service providers, then the volumes could be large, right? In any case, there are SMEs that deal with financial and healthcare information, so sensitive information definitely is possible. Then you have transfer impact assessment. The SMEs who send data out of the country or out to a different geography to get, they should do an assessment on this, and that's type of assessment that helps you validate whether the destination country has sufficient provisions and regulations to take care of personal data, is known as transfer impact assessment. And then you have legitimate impact assessment, where you are doing legitimate data processing. Does not need a consent, you don't need to wait for a consent. For example, you are doing something for public research or public welfare, right? Now let's quickly look about what are the steps that the SME should do. Well, build an awareness in your team. What is privacy and how is it important? How does it impact the business? Pick up your industry specific examples so that your team is able to understand the relevance of privacy for your business. Then you see what is your current readiness. Do you have a self-assessment checklist? Can you identify the gaps in those policies and processes? Focus on your priority areas. What are the priority areas? Consent and retention policy. Focus on them. How does the consent and retention of information works? Because consent is something which is very, very important in almost all regulations, and the Indian DPDP Act has given additional relevance to retention of data. Then simplify the regulatory requirements. Which one do you need to follow? Do you process data of European citizens, American citizens, Californians? Are there regulations for their data? Are you an Indian and process data only of Indians? Well, you have DPDP Act almost ready there. Keep your focus around notices, that is informing your principals what are you going to do with their data and obtaining their consent. And then implement the basic privacy things. Basic things like your privacy policies, privacy notices that are purely based upon your commitment to your data principles, right? Map your data flow right from the time you are collecting some information till the time you are retaining it, right? So you are collecting, you are storing, you are processing, you are sharing with third parties, and then you are deleting. Map your data flows of how the personal data is moving in your organization, and establish a process around the entire organization around the principles of privacy by design, right? 7 principles of privacy by design. Use them, redevelop your processes, leverage affordable tools and techniques. There are low cost tools available. You don't need to buy very high tech softwares for everything privacy. You can use basic tools that you always have, WordPads and spreadsheets. Automate any process that is getting repeated regularly, and build a privacy culture. Encourage your employees to adapt to privacy culture. Regularize privacy and security trainings and awareness. Let your walls be filled with awareness campaigns, regularly changing, not daily changing, but regularly changing whenever you get a new idea. Whenever you see a breach in similar industry, whenever you see a breach or you come to know about an incident, make awareness campaign around it. You don't need to say it happened in your organization, even if it did happen in your organization, right? But you can use those examples to increase the awareness of your employees and take their help. Appoint an internal privacy champion and hire External organizations also, consultants, data protection officers, TPO we would need in any case, right? So if you can't build a big privacy team being a small organization or not so large organization, then you can at least hire data protection officers from the external world. So that's about how you should prepare for privacy assessments if you are a small organization, small and medium business enterprise. I hope you like the content of the video. Please press the bell and the like icon, subscribe to my YouTube channel and share your feedback in the comment section. Thank you.